Hi, I'm Mike from Evan Asshole, coming at you live with another pre-recorded message from the top of 5040 Cobalt Lake right there, Triple Peak right there, broken group of islands, Pacific Ocean, Japan over that way, and my camping spot's just over there a little ways. I got the whole top of this mountain to myself today. And if I keep on going, let's see if I can get this right. I think right over there somewhere is Port Alberni. It's kind of hard to tell right now. Anyway, I'm doing a video on this whole hike. I can explain it all in that video if you're curious. Just keep on checking back to my channel. Like I've said before, there'll be videos for all of my hikes on there. Today's episode is on cutting holes in the van, windows in my ceiling fan. I really kind of shit the bed on the ceiling fans. I don't know if I can get this to scroll out a bit. Not really. All right. I shit the bed on doing them. Those should have been two of the first things that I did. I was so fixated on getting my floor in, because once your floor's in, you don't have to move everything out of your van just to do work anymore. And time got away on me, and I never got it done before winter. So really did that out of order. But it still worked out. Still got them all in. The windows I got in the following spring after I was going up north to work, and the fan took almost a year later. I had my most of my ceiling wood installed before I got to the ceiling fan. Let's start out with the windows. The windows, there aren't very many places that make windows for vans. And I can't remember the name of the brand right now, but I'll post a link to them when I get, yeah, you'll see it in a second here. But yeah, I got them. They're based out of Washington State. Great windows. They very expensive. What's important to know about them is it's not just a piece of glass that you slap on there. They make the windows slightly different based on where you're putting it on the van, and the year and the make and the model of your van as well dictates the outer frame of the window, I guess you could say. So you can't just put any window anywhere you want, at least according to these guys. So I had to go through their website. It's really easy to use, figure out what I had and then what I wanted, and looked at the options, and bada boom, bada bang, 2 windows came in the mail. And that was really nerve-wracking doing that, because once you cut a hole in your van, you can't put it back. So I'll show you how I went about doing it. Highly recommend having at least one friend to help you out. And the biggest piece of advice I have is make the hole really tight. You can always cut a little bit more out, but if you've cut it too wide, yeah, it's pretty hard to fix that. So here's how I did the windows. So I did a thorough inspection of this door, making sure that I don't make any mistakes before I cut it out to put in my massive window. What I've learned is that nothing is perfectly square in this door. The distance from here down and there down is different. Nothing is perfectly square. When I go on the outside and I measure the lines there's a difference from up above to down below. So there's no matter how I install this window, it's going to look crooked based on the contours of the van itself. So the only thing I could think of to do was just pick a process and go with it. It comes with this is the inner trim. and it's gonna sit on the inside of the window like this, and it's, I don't know, 1.25 inches or so, and the window sits down fairly low, and if you get it just right, you're above the lock. If you go too low, then it's going to sit on top of the lock and you won't be able to open it all the way, and you'll have to cut some of it off. So something to keep in mind. Lock position, and there is no such thing as perfectly flat, perfectly level in here. I think it's going to be more important for it to look somewhat aesthetically level on the inside than the outside. At any rate, I got center across here, drilled that hole, and then I drilled 2 more holes as well for the outside. In all the installation videos I've seen, they draw the entire template, then they cut the holes around all the corners so that they can put the template on the outside and draw it all over again. I just drilled where center is. I've got center on my template that I've made out of cardboard. I'm just going to put that center mark on the hole, line up the tops with both of those holes, tape it down, and then just trace it and cut it. In theory, that should work just fine. I've taped it on there, obviously. One thing to know about these transit slider door windows is it's not perfectly square with round ends. The front end is beveled out slightly, so this bottom end sticks out further than the top does. The back ends are parallel with each other, so when cutting out your template, you don't want to get it turned around, otherwise your window literally will not fit in. That's an important thing to realize. All right, finishing up my side window, my foyer window as I call it. Right here you can see the arch, I guess you could say, how the window goes up and then it kind of goes in a little bit. That's why you have to make sure that the template is put on correctly and not upside down, because it's also, the window also leans in a little bit to the left there, so you can't just flip the window upside down. I mean, I suppose you could, but why would you, right? The way Motion Windows makes these is, this window is designed for this part of the van only, and it's only designed for a Ford Transit. You have to, they custom make the windows based on your van type. So if you go to their website, take your time and go through the process, and then they show you all the options for any part of your window. You can get windows for down there, you can get windows for the back, so on and so forth. So that's why that has to be done this way. Now, for the installation, you're gonna want to have a friend help you out with this. I don't know if you can do this all on your own. But once I cut out the hole, and by the way, make sure that is a tight hole. I've already explained it, but if you cut the hole too wide and there's a gap where there's no van wall here, that's a pretty hard thing to try and fix. So it's better to make it too tight and keep cutting little bits out until it fits. It's annoying, but be extra cautious on that. Now, the window piece that goes in, it's got this lip that sits on the outside of the van, and that's where I've put the weather stripping, which you might be able to make out there. The only thing that's making this van waterproof is the weather stripping that goes all the way around. They supply that when you buy the window. So that gets put on the back side of here. Take your time, do it nice. And then you put it inside the van. Now, you can see right here, this part of the window frame, it's also bevels out on the edge. So it kind of like sandwiches against the inside of the van wall here. So when the wall or when the window comes in and this is screwed into it, the outside beveled part and this inner part, that squishes against the van wall, and that's what holds it in place. And like I said, the weather stripping's in there as well. So that's the only thing that's holding the window together. So, and as you can see, this piece and this piece are two separate ones, and that's because they're angled slightly inwards to work with the angle of the door. So it has to be done in a certain order, and the instructions that they offer are nice and clear. It's easy to figure out. It's for me, the most difficult part was having the courage to cut out the hole, because once you've cut it out, there's no changing it. But after doing my first one, I'd take the next one on easy. Like, let's do it. It'd be no problem at all. The next issue that I had is I talked about this door lock getting in the way. I forgot to make sure I had the window high enough that I didn't cut it off, but I cut off the top of it when I was cutting out the wall here, and which is no big deal because it still works fine. And I'll be honest, in 3 years that I've been living in this van, I have yet to use this thing once. So now the only thing I have left to do is try and figure out how to finish this door, and I can't figure out how to do it. I might just rip this out and leave it alone. So that's pretty much all there is to this side window. One great thing, and it took me a year to realize this, is my screen door actually opens up too. It was quite a while before I realized that. Oh boy. So that is everything that I can show you about this window install. Oh, actually, I lied. There's one more thing. When I was doing up this window, I wasn't sure. I talked about how this line isn't flat and this line isn't flat. So how do you line up your window to make it look nice? And I'd said to just pick away and go for it. My buddy had suggested that I go halfway in between both. So it's a little bit out of level if you're looking up above, and it's a little bit out of level if you're looking down on this side. Just kind of even it in between both. That ended up being the best way to go. So there you have it. There's the foyer window. And the rear window was done just the same, but I'll give you a little tour of it here as well. So what I did was I drilled a hole, a tiny little hole right there. That's right in line with center of the window right there. And that's the top of the window. And then if we head on outside, what I did is I found this little hole right here. I'm just going to put my center mark here. Then I can measure down off of this lip right here. And then that'll allow me to make sure that the window is nice and straight. I will mark out this template with a marker, Cross my fingers, hope I get it done right, and then I can just start cutting it out. I'm just editing in this video right now, doing the final touches, and I realized that I forgot to touch on how I cut the actual windows out. And I used a jigsaw to do all the cutting, and I made sure to use lots of painter's tape so that your jigsaw will scratch your metal if it goes against bare metal. So especially once you start cutting, if metal filings get in between the jigsaw and your van wall, that's how I actually got some scratching on the van that way. So keep that in mind. I think I used little jigsaw blades. The recommended size is 21 to 24 teeth per inch, TPI I believe it's called. So that was the ideal type of jigsaw blade. Make sure you keep it pushed right tight against your van wall, obviously. Stop lots. Keep the metal shavings off of the bottom side of your jigsaw. And also, if it's getting inside the van, make sure you got a way to clean it all up and catch it as it's falling inside the van. You don't want to leave that in there for the rest of the van's life. Those were big ones. And then when I was ready to put the window in, after I spray painted rust paint on the newly cut edges all the way around the window, I used some rubbing alcohol to clean the surface on the outside for where I was putting the water sealing foam that goes all the way around the window. That just made sure that there was nothing in the way of it having a good tight adhesion to the metal, I suppose you could say. And I went all the way around it, and they recommend, I believe it's on the bottom, when you meet up with the bottom again, you go up and over on top of it by about a quarter of an inch or something like that. So rather than stopping short of it and having a little part that doesn't have any of that weatherproofing material there. That's pretty much all I can think of that I did. I'm really bummed that I don't know how I've misplaced all of that video. There was some great footage, and same thing with the ceiling fan install too there. Yeah. So anyway, carry on, and hopefully the next video I make, I've got actual footage for it. I didn't like how you could see some of the corners. My carpentry work wasn't as tight as I would like to have. I would have liked it to have been. So I just I tried to hide it with this material. It's let me show you over here. Ouch! It's the stuff that glass repair shops use. They put it around window panes for your vehicles. I got it really cheap, and it bends really nicely around corners. So I was hoping to have a more uniform and nicely finished job, but it just doesn't quite work that way, unfortunately. So that's all right. I just I never look at it anyways. So, but that's the window. Here's a nice view of the side window here. It goes in just the same as the foyer window. This lip or beveled edge or whatever you want to call it sits out flat on the outside of the wall of the van. It's got the weather strip membrane that goes all the way around it. That's what makes it waterproof. And then the The piece on the inside sits against it, and it's got a flattened edge like this that sits flat against the inside of this wall. And then you just screw it in, and it squishes like a sandwich on both sides of this wall. That's all it is that holds it in place. And just a tiny little bit of weather stripping. That's literally all there is to it. It can't be any easier. There's been so many videos out there, in all honesty, on how to install the fan, so at least it's not something completely novel that nobody's seen before. But I didn't think this purchase out very well when I bought it. I was a little cheap on the fan because I had other plans with it, which you're going to see in a little bit here what I've done. But I cut out the 14-inch hole. Now there's a spacer that you can buy that I'll show you a link to it if it's still up on there. I bought it a few years ago. It's 3D printed, and it sits, it's meant to fit on the roof of this van, and it sits in the gaps, and it creates a flat surface right across, so it compensates for the slight curve and everything. So you literally just drop it in a place. It sits inside of these little recessed areas on both sides, so it sits perfectly. And then you just trace out the inside of the insert and then cut it out. So that I did. And then this fan literally just sits on top of that insert and goes inside the hole that I put, or that I cut out for it. So it's great. It's easy. The hole's cut the perfect size. It's perfectly centered on the van. Everything is great. So ridiculously expensive when I bought it, but it does a great job. And then it has to be screwed down, obviously, here, here, and here. And then the same thing on the other side are the 6 screws that hold it into place. And I believe I have a picture that sort of shows the inside, but I took a 2x2 and I ran it around all 4 sides, right so that it's flush with the inside of the cutout. I cut it out first, then I installed that in there. And that gives these screws something to screw into once you go through the roof metal. Here's my fan pretty much taken apart. You can see right there, that's the skin of the roof of the van. And it's hard to make it out, but the 3D printed gasket, if you will, is just above it. And so the fan just fits inside perfectly all the way around, which is great. And then the screws that hold the van go down into these 2x2s that I ran all the way around. So that's how this is secured into place. And of course, after I'd made all the cuts and drilled out the holes in the metal for these screws, I painted them with a rust paint so that I didn't have to worry about that. But that's how I secured this into place. And then I'll post a link to the goop that I used, the silicone that I used to seal it. And all I literally did was start on the top about at least a halfway inch from the edge of the plastic, went down, just covered the bottom, went over, back up, over, back down, back up. That's how I did the entire thing. You can see the process there. When I did it, I just made sure that I covered the bottom here so that no water gets in, and no water could get in from this way as well. And then I covered over the screw holes as well, so that there was no way anywhere around this entire thing water could get in. That's how I did that. There might be better ways out there, I don't know, but that's just what I did. And I wasn't thinking when I bought this, you can get these fans that already come with one of these, but not quite as big. And I should have got that, because with this standalone system like that, when the lid's up, you know what, hold on one second. There we go. When this lid's up, if I needed the fan running with the lid open and it starts raining, rain's getting in there. So if you live somewhere that hardly ever gets rain, maybe you don't need it. I don't know. That's a personal choice, but I definitely wanted to be able to have the option of keeping my fan running without having to worry about rain getting inside the fan. So I ended up buying this as aftermarket, and it was stupid expensive, like everything is with this brand. And but it's on there. It works. It does its job. Can have the fan open anytime I want, and I don't have to worry about it. So, and these install really easy. Let me see if I can get it over top. That's all there is to it. You just put it into place. They have a couple of these pins, which we're gonna put in from, let me change hands here. See if I can do this on the first try. It just goes through the hole right there. Right there. Boom, you put another one through here. I face these pins towards the back like this. Probably doesn't matter, but that's just what I do. Two on the other side. That's in place. So it's easy to take off if you want to clean the fan or anything like that. And that's all there really is to installing this fan from the outside anyways. So I'll take you inside the van and show you what I did there. Hold the van, go down into these 2x2s that I ran all the way around. Then I just put this trim in. This piece here is just floating, it just sits in there. And this piece here is screwed into the ceiling. I'll show you all finished here in a second, but that's what I did all the way around. This trim doesn't line up perfectly because in order to install this fan, the silicone that I used to seal it on the outside, it needs to be at least 15 degrees out Celsius for it to properly cure. And so I couldn't put it in all winter or the spring. I had to wait till just about until summertime to do it. So by then I was impatient and I installed my sealing before I even cut out the fan. So I took my best guess on where this would end, and I was out by a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, which is not a big deal. So that's why that is. Anyway, installing the fan. So this piece just drops in. That's pretty straightforward. Then you hook up your wiring. What I did, when you take it apart to install it, pay attention to how you took it apart. Because when you go to put this guy back up, this piece here has to sit over like that so that this can go through this hole and marry on to this one here. So that all gets put together, and then there's just 4 screws that hold it in place. So I'll put all of that back together again and then show you what's going on from there. Somebody's watching me do the work, and I'm not doing it fast enough apparently. So, Coda, what's going on? I have got this. I just put the 4 screws back into place, making sure I had the wires out of the way. That's all finished. Next I can install this guy. It's literally, you just put it through where that little piece of pipe goes up, as you can see, and make sure it fits in there right, and then just screw that in there, and then that's into place. So we'll do that next. All that's left is to put this into place, and it just sits in there. And these guys turn. You turn them to get it out. It's a terrible design because it's hard to pull these down and turn them, at least unless I'm not smart enough to figure the easy way to do it. But all four of them twist and turn. I just move two of them off to the side, and I slide it out. So whatever, however you like to do it. But so I'll put that back in and show you what's next. That's it. The fan's all together.